Hey guys, it's Cody, and today I thought I would tell you about how I eventually learned to live with my condition called tinnitus. Um, I'll go into details about what helped, what didn't help, um, how I continue with my life today, and just, yeah, a bunch of stuff that I can inform you guys and try to make your guys' experience with it hopefully better because I know how hard it is at first when you get it. It can be a very, very isolating condition, but if you combat it correctly and go about with treatments, you can eventually learn to live with it. So yeah, so I'll start with what is tinnitus. Tinnitus is it's a sound that your brain perceives in your ears that's not actually there, and it can be a lot of different pitches. It could be really high pitch. It could be like a hissing sound. It could be like a chirping sound, like a cricket. It could be like a swishing sound, just a bunch of different sounds, and it's really subjective to the person that's experienced it. It could be in one ear, it can be in both ears, it could be there all the time, it could be there just a little bit. It changes quite a bit from person to person. So my tinnitus personally, it's in both ears. My right ear, it's not always there though. It's only there every so often. I don't really notice it unless I'm laying down in bed, like on a pillow. Then I can kind of hear it, and sometimes even then it's not there. My left ear though, I can hear it all the time. It's not a constant pitch. It's always changing. Kind of sounds like a really high pitch cricket basically, and when it's really growing, it sounds like a bell going back and forth. I did match the pitch of my tinnitus a while ago with my left ear, and I found out that the highest pitch that is usually there most of the time in my ear is around 12,000 hertz. So probably have some type of like hearing loss up in those frequencies. But yeah, I never matched the pitch of my right ear though. It's a lower pitch than my left ear, but it probably is, if I had to take a guess, it's above 8,000 hertz, probably around like 10,000 hertz. It's still pretty high pitch, but it's lower in pitch compared to my left ear. Um, so when did I get tinnitus? So I got tinnitus about a year ago. It's July 22nd of 2019 right now. I got tinnitus so July 17th of 2018, so I've had it for over a year now. How did I get it? I got it from listening to my music in my earbuds way too loud. At the time when I got it, I was training for a half marathon, and I had my earbuds in when I would run, and I have an iPhone, and the volume on my phone, from what I remember, was like 2 notches away from maximum volume, which is really loud. And I would listen to that for like 45 to 50 minutes. The whole time when I was running, I did this for about a month and a half, 5 days a week, so quite a bit. I was exposing my ears to a lot of loud noises, which probably eventually led to hearing loss in the upper frequencies. Um, I don't have any hearing loss, so I went to an audiologist during my whole process of figuring out why I have tinnitus and whatnot. I could go into a whole story with all the doctors that I went to figure out why I had it because no one knew why I had it. Maybe I'll eventually make a video about that, but I'm not going to get into too much detail with that just because this video will probably be like an hour long then. So maybe eventually I'll make a video about like how I went through the system of all the doctors and like what they told me and stuff. And I got some stuff out of it, but not really. They're still confused of why I have tinnitus because I don't have hearing loss, I guess, in that range. The reason why I'm skeptical about that is because they don't test all the way to 20,000 hertz. So your human ear can hear from 0 to 20,000 hertz. When you do a hearing test, they only test, I think, from, where do they start? I think they start at 2,000 hertz. Don't quote me on that. I'll double check that before I post it. But they go up to 8,000 hertz. I know that for sure. So they don't go all the way up to 20,000 hertz. And I think I have hearing loss past 8,000 hertz. So just because I do, they say that I don't have hearing loss, which I think I do because I did match the pitch of my tinnitus, and I couldn't when I was going to 0 to 20,000 hertz. I could hear like through my earbuds, like sometimes I could hear the sound in this one, sometimes I couldn't hear it in this one, and vice versa. So I know I had some type of hearing loss in certain frequencies within my ears. And when I got to 12,000 hertz, I couldn't hear it in this one, but my tinnitus stopped. So that means like when the sound was there, I couldn't hear it, but it was going into my brain and like it wasn't causing tinnitus anymore. So it must be because I have hearing loss from what I can conclude, I guess. Not 100% for sure, but if I had to take a gamble on it, I would say I have hearing loss in those upper frequency ranges. So that's probably why I have tinnitus. But yeah, where was I going? Yeah, so I've had the tinnitus for about a year. When I interestingly enough, another story is when I got the tinnitus originally back in July of last year, I only had it for about 2 weeks and then it went away for about 45 days and then it came back. So I haven't had the tinnitus continuously for a year, but I originally got it last year in July. When it went away, it came back in about mid-September. So come this September, I'll have the tinnitus for a whole year. So I'm almost at a whole year of having it continuously. I'm at 10 months right now. So it's yeah, it's going by pretty quick in my opinion, but it wasn't all. Right now, my tinnitus, it doesn't really bother me that much. If I had to say out of a scale of 1 to 10, probably at like a 4 most days. Like I still notice it quite a bit, but it's just there. It's like a background sound to me. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's loud, depending on what I'm doing. My tinnitus is pretty reactive too in my left ear, not my right ear, surprisingly, but my left ear. So like if I'm around loud noises, it'll get louder. Certain sounds really make it aggravated, I guess. Like a fan will usually make my tinnitus pretty loud, or just loud noises in general. So I try to stay away from loud noises as much as I can, because my tinnitus will act up in my left ear, and sometimes it'll stay that way for a couple of days. So I try to stay away from loud noises as much as possible, but I'll get into like hearing protection and stuff like that later in this video for stuff that helped. But yeah, where was I going with it? About 4 months after September, so in about January, when I realized that my tinnitus wasn't going to go away for a second time, I really struggled with it. I was going through a really hard time. I was dealing with not only the tinnitus, but during my going through all like the medical providers of trying to figure out a way to stop my tinnitus, I actually found out I had a lot of other issues. I had cervical ribs, which is like an anatomical abnormality in my neck, and I had a congenital fusion of my cervical vertebrae at C2 and C3. And these both didn't bother me. I didn't even know I had them until I went to a chiropractor, and this guy wanted to unfuse my vertebrae, which you can't do with a chiropractor, with chiropractic manipulation. He was basically a liar, but he was having me go into him 3 days a week with this, and yeah, pretty rigorous treatment schedule. And eventually this led to really bad neck pain, like chronic neck pain. I had it for months, and I went to another chiropractor who was very honest and told me what happened with him, and he said, yeah, you can't unfuse your vertebrae. That guy was lying and stuff, and he did a different treatment on me, and yeah, he actually like fixed me. My neck feels a lot better. Still is sometimes a little sore, but just I think it's natural neck pain soreness. But yeah, other than that, I've struggled with like the chronic neck pain for all the way from February up until about a couple weeks ago. So I had it for a while. So during this hard time, I was dealing with my ear ringing and my neck pain, and like I was going through my senior year of college, like really stressful with school, and just was a bad time in my life. And I was really struggling with my tinnitus. I was very depressed from it. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to lay in my bed and just listen to it and try to get used to it, like try to figure out ways that my brain could habituate quicker to it, I guess. So after going through all like the doctors that I went to and not finding out anything, basically, I was kind of stumped. And eventually I was reading a scientific journal about how cognitive behavioral therapy can be effective against getting you to habituate pretty much quicker to your tinnitus. It doesn't treat it, but it makes you more used to it. So I eventually did this, which I'll get into more detail later with the video, with stuff that has helped. And this eventually got me out of this really hard rut. I was in a depressed state for January, February, and most of March, and a lot of like half of April, basically. And what really, I don't know what got me out of it, to be honest, but eventually like I just got used to it and I was less affected by the tinnitus. I think it was from the cognitive behavioral therapy, but it didn't really bother me as much eventually, and I'm just getting more used to it. I think it just comes with time, really. But yeah, it was a hard time for about like 3.5 months, a really, really hard time. And I really, I don't know, I learned a lot about myself, I guess, during the time, you can say, of what really like made my tinnitus bad, what made it better, and how to do stuff to, I guess, better get used to it. And I changed more during that time too. I became more compassionate for people, for stuff that they were going through. Like if they were struggling with something that I couldn't understand, now I know how it feels, I guess, because I felt very, very alone during this time. Nobody in my family ever experienced tinnitus like this before. My grandma had it, like I said, but hers hers wasn't, she didn't really complain about it that much. She said it was pretty quiet. Mine was pretty loud, and I was not coping with it, and I've just felt really alone, and I didn't really have anyone to ask about the condition, because everyone that I asked about, they didn't know what it was, basically. And I don't really blame them, because if you would have asked me about it prior to getting tinnitus, I wouldn't know anything about it either. I'd be just like, okay, ear ringing in your ear, just ignore it. But it's not that easy. Anyone that has experienced ear ringing would know what I'm talking about with that. But yeah, starting about mid-April, I started coming out of this rut, and I'm starting to become more, I guess, used to my tinnitus. I still have hard days like here and there, but it's nowhere near what I was going through back in February and March. And if I had to put a scale of how much my tinnitus affected me back in April, or not April, but like January, February, March, it probably was like a 9 every single day. Like I had very few good days during that 3.5 months. And now, yeah, out of a scale of 1 to 10, my tinnitus probably bothers me like a 4. So I dropped quite a bit in a short amount of time. It only took like 4 or 5 months, and I'm dropping pretty quick, and I'm just getting more used to the condition. And like I said, it still bothers me here and there, but I have a lot more better days now than worse days, or than bad days, I should say. So, and it's eventually like I'm having a lot more better days than bad days, and it keeps on getting more better, less bad as time goes on. So it's very hopeful, I guess. So going into stuff that helped, like I said before, the cognitive behavioral therapy did help quite a bit. They teach you basically just things you can do to relax and just to better habituate to the tinnitus. Things I was already doing before I went to the cognitive behavioral therapy was meditation. I use an app called HeadSpace. It's free for, I think, the first 10 sessions, I think, when you download the app, but then after that you have to pay, I think, $13 a month, or there's different subscriptions, but I pay the $13 a month. I'm pretty sure it's that. And this has helped a lot. Just doing the meditation every single night has really calmed me down, and even sometimes when I meditate, I've noticed like my ringing will be so quiet that I don't even hear it sometimes. Like, and sometimes I meditate and my ringing's still there, but I just don't have that negative reaction to it, so doesn't really bother me that much, and that really helped a lot. I think meditation was definitely my turning point with that, and I will continue to do it every single day to just remain calm and just clear my mind, and yeah, become a more calm person. I feel like with this, it allows you to habituate to the tinnitus a lot quicker. I have a whiteboard over here that I wrote a bunch of stuff on. Sound therapy. So with tinnitus, I guess personally, I don't like being in really quiet rooms. It's quiet right now, and I can hear my tinnitus, and I'm fine right now, just because I'm getting habituated to it, and I'm getting more used to it. But at first, I did not like to be around quiet rooms, and I still try not to as much as possible. It's not like the end of the world if I am in a quiet room, but I try to not be in a quiet room as much as possible. So what I use for sound therapy, in the beginning I was using my fan, and that helped, I guess, but it was aggravating my tinnitus in my left ear, so I needed to find something else. So then eventually I got a white noise machine. I think it's called like an electro fan. I'll include that down in the link below, and like sound therapy tools that I use, and I'll have like a whole list of them. I use the electro fan, and that helped a little bit. It was just like it's basically like a machine that you can put a lot of different sounds, or that has a lot of sounds on it, like a fan, or they have like a just high pitch, like a static sound, and it has a lot of different sounds you can play just to have white noise. And that did help when I was studying for school, and just sitting in, I had it in my office at my other place, and I would play it whenever I was in there, just so I wasn't in complete silence. I use that, so the electro fan. I also use like continual videos that run on like continuous loops, basically, on YouTube, and I would play this during the time when I was studying or doing whatever, when I wanted something in the background. And some clips really did help me, some didn't. It just depended on how, it depends on your tinnitus and like what, not mask it completely, but what I guess allows you to get your mind off of it. With this sound therapy, you don't want to play anything that necessarily masks your tinnitus, in my opinion, because that's not allowing your brain to habituate to it. You want to play sounds that allow you to hear your tinnitus still, but to an extent where you're not completely focusing on it, if that makes sense. So then your brain will eventually tune out your sound therapy sound that you're playing, and then it'll tune out your tinnitus as well. It'll just make you more habituated to it. It happens over time. It's a very slow process, but eventually you will get there if you work on it. So yeah, I would play continuous clips of like water sounds, or I found another clip with like a cricket chirping in the background by a fire. That one really helped. I'll include that link down below. And I use this whenever I study or if I just want to like get my mind off the tinnitus, and I can hardly notice it when I play this in my ear. Other sound therapies that I would use. I would use the fan, I would use the continuous clips on YouTube, and I would also use a little waterfall thing, and I'll include the link to this below too. And it's like a little water fountain that I put on my desk. I just got this like 2 weeks ago, and it's helped a lot. I really like it. It's kind of expensive. It was like around $64, but I wanted one that would actually play a good water sound in the background and not just have like a janky one that you can barely hear, you know. So I did invest a little bit into this, and I'm actually happy that I did, because for the I've had it for 2 or 3 weeks now, but for the time that I've had it, it actually has helped a lot. I have it in my room. My camera's actually up against it right now, so it's a pretty big water fountain. Not a big one, it's like 14 inches, but it plays a good amount of sound, I guess, when it's going, and helps me better sit in my room without me noticing my tinnitus as much. And weird enough, this waterfall actually calms my tinnitus down, I've noticed. Like when it's really loud, I'll go into my room with this water fountain, and my tinnitus will like decrease in pitch quite a bit. That I've not pitch but volume in my left ear. So yeah, sometimes it gets so quiet that I can't even hear it in my left ear when I'm in my room, so it's crazy. Other sound therapies, I guess I'll open up windows when I can. I live in the Midwest in the US, and it's pretty cold around here if anyone's from around here. I live in a state where we go below zero quite a bit during the year, so I can only have my window open like probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months of the year, but whenever I can, I do open my window, because just having that background noise does help. It's basically, you don't want to be in a really quiet room with your tinnitus at first, because then it will probably drive you a little crazy. Not necessarily crazy, but you'll notice it more. Kind of like a candle in a dark room. If you have one candle in a dark room, you can notice it more, but if you have a candle in a lit room, you don't notice it as much. And the same thing with sound. So you want to be in rooms that have noise at a moderate noise level. Other things that I found helpful with my tinnitus, so meditation, the sound therapy. I also use an app on my phone called EarDial, and this app basically tells me how loud my surrounding environment is. So if I ever go out with friends, like to like a club or a noisy bar, or anywhere that's kind of loud, or that I'm kind of suspicious about it being too loud for my ears, I'll whip out this app, and you can press a little button. And the app is free too, and it'll tell you how loud it is, and how long you can be in this environment before you have possible noise damage and stuff. And then you can press a little button on the side if you have the EarDial high fidelity earplugs, which I do have as well. I'll get into the sound protection though later on this video. That does if you press that button on the app, it tells you then how long you can be in that room with the earplugs in, and it's usually quite a bit, because the earplugs are pretty protective against loud noises. So I do use that quite a bit whenever I'm in a loud environment, like in a car with a friend playing a really loud music, or if I'm in a bar or like a concert and stuff. I still do go to concerts, but I always wear earplugs. That's the key thing. If you are with tinnitus, you have to be careful with sound now. You don't want to be around really loud sounds. You want to be and if you are around loud sounds, you want to have ear protection. So if I'm like mowing the lawn, or weed whacking, or having my pressure washer going, like loud machinery, I'll wear actually over the ear protections. They're called MPOW, and NRR, which is the noise reduction rating on them, is 28, so it helps quite a bit. I'll include a link for that below too. And then if I'm in places where I don't really want people to notice my ear protection as much, I'm kind of insecure about wearing it a little bit still. I'm getting better, but yeah, I don't know why I'm insecure about wearing earplugs in public, but I'm getting better with it. It's a little process. I went to a concert 2 weeks ago, and I put my earplugs in right in front of everybody, and people looked a little bit, but they just look and, I don't know, notice that earplugs, and they would look away right away. I didn't really care, because with this condition, you're the one that experiences it, you're the one who has to live with it, so that's what I tell myself all the time. And if I'm insecure about wearing earplugs, then I shouldn't be in loud places. So I try to keep my earplugs in whenever I'm in loud places. So when I am at like concerts and stuff, I'll use high fidelity earplugs, which are earplugs that pretty much bring the volume down from a really loud volume to a lower volume at certain frequencies, and so you can still hear everything just fine. It's just it's at a lower volume, so it's less strenuous on your ears. I've been using these since March, so I've had them for about 4 or 5 months now, and they do help quite a bit. I have 2 pairs. I use the Eargasm high fidelity earplugs, which I like the most out of the 2 that I have, and then I use the EarDial ones. And the EarDial ones I don't like the most just because they're really small and they seem like they fall out of your ears. They don't really provide that suction-y feeling that I think they should be providing with ear protection. Where my high fidelity earplug Eargasm ones, they do stay in my ears a lot better. So they stay in my ears better. So I do enjoy using those more. But yeah, I like to use the high fidelity earplugs more. They just seem like they provide better protection compared to the EarDial ones. Yeah, I'll provide links for all of my ear protection that I use down below. And with ear protection, don't overdo it, because if you use ear protection everywhere, you probably will eventually develop hyperacusis, which is hearing sensitivity, which sometimes just happens with tinnitus, but you can actually induce it on yourself if you use ear protection all the time. So make sure you're kind of wary about that. I don't use it. I at first was using it everywhere, which was kind of ridiculous, but I was just so scared of making my tinnitus worse that I didn't want to be around anything that was loud, so I was always using earplugs or some type of ear protection. But now, if the sound is below 85 decibels, I'm fine. It still is kind of loud when it's that loud, but if scientists have stated that if you are below 85 decibels, you probably won't cause hearing damage, at least not in like the short term. So I'm usually fine around environments like that. But if I'm anything loud, anything above 85 decibels, to this day, I still use ear protection. So yeah. What else helps? So with the cognitive behavioral therapy, that did help quite a bit. They teach you to do meditation and like use sound therapy, which I was already using. But one thing that the cognitive behavioral therapy taught me was mindfulness, and that was when you notice your tinnitus, you don't have to have the negative reaction. You can just tell yourself that, okay, I'm noticing my tinnitus right now, and that's okay. And you just continue to tell yourself this until like your brain stops having this negative reaction with it, because it's just a noise in your head, and you just tell yourself, okay, I'm noticing it right now, and that's okay. I can continue with what I'm doing, and just try to, I don't know, eventually ignore it. Your brain will habituate it out. But if you are always on the lookout for your tinnitus and you're always having this negative reaction with it, it takes longer to habituate to it, in my opinion. So mindfulness was really key to with getting used to it, because whenever I notice my tinnitus now, I just say, okay, I notice my tinnitus, and that's okay. It's not having any effect on my concentration or my ability to do things. Like, it's there, and I'm going to continue doing what I was doing before I noticed it ringing, I guess. So that was a big help too with the cognitive behavioral therapy. I do recommend, if you are struggling with tinnitus, to do cognitive behavioral therapy. It did help me quite a bit. You don't get results usually right away, but eventually, like over a couple of sessions even, like you will have a reduction in your perception of your tinnitus. I almost guaranteed, if you follow everything that they say. So what didn't help with my tinnitus? So there's a lot of different things out there that people will say that you can use, like eardrops or homeopathic medicine, like at CVS or Walgreens, that they say will help with your tinnitus. And I use these and they do not work. Don't fall for them, because they're just trying to get money out of people that are struggling with a health condition like us with tinnitus. And they want, because you're desperate to get rid of the ringing any way that you can usually, and they know this, so they're trying to get as much money out of you, which is sad. So when you go into CVS, into the ear section, or like Walgreens, whatever drug or pharmacy store, you'll see a lot of drops or tablets or things that you can take or eat for ear ringing. They claim that, oh, it'll get your ear ringing to go away. It doesn't work. Don't follow any of these. They're just trying to get money out of you. And there's like lipoflavonoid tablets too, I think they call them, but these have been proven not to work. There's no scientific evidence for them working at all. They're just saying that they can work, and they're not FDA regulated either. So use these with caution. I use them and I did not notice any change. I've heard other people using them. They didn't notice any change either, so I wouldn't recommend using them. For vitamins, I tried magnesium just because of the science behind it. It seemed pretty plausible that the magnesium should help with the ear ringing. I didn't really notice anything, to be honest. I I don't know, I just didn't notice any change, so I stopped taking. I still have a bottle, and I'll take a magnesium capsule like every now and then, but just to get rid of it because I bought it, so I'm going to use it. If you are going to try magnesium, don't get magnesium oxide. Get magnesium, I think, citrate. I'll include the link below of which one to get. Because your body doesn't readily absorb magnesium oxide, which is what they usually sell at like Walmart or Target and whatnot. Don't get these because it's not going to do anything. It's just you're gonna eat it and your body's not going to absorb it because it's not the right form of magnesium. So get I think it's magnesium citrate or something like that. But your body absorbs this one a lot more. Other vitamins that I used a multivitamin just to have that overall like healthy effect. I don't know, like I took it just so like I would feel better in general, but I didn't notice any change with my ear ringing at all. Also, I use B super complex vitamins, and I still take these every now and then just for like it's supposed to help with like your metabolism and like converting your food into energy basically, and it's supposed to make you more calm, I guess, too. But they said that with ear ringing this could help as well. I didn't notice a difference with my ear ringing necessarily, but I do notice it causes you to become more calm, so it kind of indirectly helps your ear ringing because you don't have such a negative like a reaction to it, I guess, or not such a dramatic one in my opinion. So I do still take the B vitamin complex pills. I don't take the magnesium anymore, and I still take the multivitamin just because, I don't know, I want to make sure I have all my vitamins. I don't take it for the ear ringing, I just take it for my own personal health. Other supplements that people claim that help is ginkgo biloba. I did take this for probably about a month, and I didn't notice any difference. I think I had the placebo effect for the first week because I thought my tinnitus was getting quieter or I was noticing it less, and I honestly didn't notice much. So some people say that ginkgo helps them. It didn't really help me though. You can try it and see, but yeah, it didn't really help me. What are other things? I think that was it that didn't really help. Yeah, just be conscious of the vitamins and supplements that you take. There's other people that claim vitamin D3 helps with your ear ringing as well. I personally don't think it helps directly, maybe indirectly with your mood, but other people are saying you should take really, really high dosages of vitamin D3. Don't do this because you can actually like poison yourself with this. So be conscious with the vitamin supplements that you want to take and make sure you're doing it within levels that are safe for your body. Don't do like crazy astronomical amounts unless like a healthcare provider tells you to do so, which they probably won't, but you never know. So just follow the advice of your medical provider if you do seek information for this, and be conscious about what you're putting into your body because it can have other negative effects for that as well. Yeah, so with the tinnitus, my main fear at first was basically like how I'm gonna continue with my life with this condition. Like I just felt like my life stopped once I got tinnitus. Like I wasn't able to do anything. It was so emotionally draining that I would not, during those 4 hard months, like I wasn't able to do, I was still able to like continue with school, but like I just was, I don't know, I was just beat all the time, and I was like, how am I gonna continue to live like this? Like it just is so I don't know, I just dreaded waking up because then right when I woke up I noticed my tinnitus, and like I was obsessing over it, and I would notice it every second of every single day, and it just wasn't a fun time. But yeah, eventually with all of the stuff that I did, like the cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, sound therapy, eating, trying to eat better, I guess, I felt like maybe helped a little bit. It overall, it didn't make my ringing really that much quieter in a sense, but it's because I haven't had it that long. I think eventually maybe my ringing will decrease in volume, but it's made me more able to notice it and not have a negative reaction and continue with what I was doing. So like I'm habituating of living with it. Maybe eventually with time my volume will go down. Some people say that their volume does go down, and yeah, maybe mine will get to that point. I haven't had it for that long, I guess, in relation to other people like that have had it for years. So maybe eventually my volume will decrease, but I'm just learning to habituate with it. So just doing everything that I said before that helped. It has helped me continue with my life. And I graduated from college with the Bachelor's of Science in Zoology in May of this year. So I was able to continue with that. I was able to go to all my medical school interviews, and I actually got multiple acceptances for medical school, and I'll be starting medical school here in actually like 10 days. So I'm able to do that with the ear ringing, continuing to just, yeah, live life and do everything that I wanted to do, really. Just the only thing that's different now prior to having ear ringing is just that I have to be careful with loud noises, and when I'm around loud noises I wear ear protection basically. And other than that, like, everything else is kind of the same. Like, nothing else has changed for the most part. I guess I should say that I become more of a compassionate person, like I kind of talked about before, about things that I don't understand, which I think will come into a great advantage when I become a medical provider. I've also been more attuned to my body, I guess, and just listening to it and really noticing when things are out of whack and stuff. And yeah, I've been more, I guess, more careful with what I subject my body to, and just knowing that I'm not invincible, basically. Like, there are consequences for things that you subject your body to, so you should be careful with that. Which I think is a good thing to learn at a young age, because now I hardly ever drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I never did smoke. I don't do drugs. Like, I don't do anything that's dangerous for my body. The one thing that I did do dangerous for my body was probably my exposure to the sun, because living in the Midwest, I do like to sit in the sun when the sun does come out when it's warm. But now I notice, like, if I probably sit in the sun too long, you might get melanoma. So I do still sit in the sun. You can probably see I have a little bit of a tan on my arm, but I just am more careful with how much sun I'm exposing myself to, and just in relation to other things. Like, I'm just careful with how much I'm exposing my body to, because there are consequences for things that you do to your body. Like, you're not invincible anymore. You never were invincible, but a lot of young people think that they are invincible. But yeah, I'll be starting medical school in about 10 days now, so I'll probably post some updated like videos telling you guys how it's going with the tinnitus and going to medical school. So if you guys do have big career aspirations of going to rigorous professional programs with tinnitus, like, I'll just show you that you can do it. Yeah, and that's like the whole point of this video, is just to tell you guys that you can continue with your life with tinnitus, and that it doesn't stop when you get it. You just have to learn to live with it, habituate, change a little bit of things like the ear protection and stuff, and just continue with your life. And yeah, eventually your tinnitus will just be a part of you, and you really won't notice it as being a distressful thing. I'm getting there, and it hasn't even really been a year yet, technically, just because it went away and I got it back in September. But yeah, my distress with it is going down a lot. I'm at like a 4 out of 10 maybe at this point, and it's really dropped significantly in just like the past 4 months, from like a 9 to a 4. So I think the next time I make a video, I'm sure it'll be at like a 3 or a 2. Like, I'm sure it'll decrease. And I have other friends that have had tinnitus. I have one friend that has tinnitus, and he's had it for 4 years, and he says he doesn't even notice this anymore. He's had it, I don't know, he's had it for so long, like 3 or 4 years, that he puts it in the back of his head, and he doesn't affect him at all whatsoever. So yeah, it's very promising. Speaking of promising, if you guys do like research, I am huge on research, and I have actually been looking into a lot of people that are doing research with hearing loss. If your tinnitus is from hearing loss, there is a promising research group called Frequency Therapeutics that is doing research to basically cause the hair cells in your ear to regrow. And they have a very promising like small molecule drug called FX322 that just passed phase 1-2 of clinical trials in the US, and they're going to be starting the phase 2A, which is the effectancy dosage like clinical trial, later this year in the fourth quarter, probably sometime around like October through December. And they're going to start this to see which dose is effective. So they actually have already seen with their safety trial, which was the phase 1-2, that people had sorry, my dogs are barking. People have had restoration of their hearing loss, which is really promising with this research. So they're going to start the effectiveness dose soon this year. And the science that they're talking about is very backed from what I've learned throughout my 4 years of college being a science major. It totally makes sense that what their approach is. If you guys want to follow them, I'll include a link below in the description box as well to tell you guys, or to show you guys, like, that there are promising research out there. So it's not like, I don't personally think you'll have to live with tinnitus forever. Like, I really do think someone will find a cure for hearing loss if your tinnitus is caused from hearing loss, and pretty soon, like, they'll have a way of treating hearing loss, and I'm pretty sure the tinnitus will go away as well. So something to look forward to in a sense, so you don't have to always think like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to live with this condition forever, I guess, but that has always been helpful for me. Like I know there is hope for a future without the tinnitus, I guess, but I mean, I can wait as well just because it doesn't bother me as much as it used to be. I'm still able to do stuff and, yeah, continue with my life, basically. Yeah, so I'll keep you guys updated in these coming months if you guys want me to touch on any specific topics, like maybe my whole story of going through all the medical providers back in from January to basically all the way up through June, all the things that I did to figure out what caused my tinnitus, to figure out like other things with my body and like things, I don't know, just tell you the whole story about my whole medical provider expedition that I went through, I guess, for like 6 months. So if you guys want to see that, just let me know. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated in the coming months, and yeah, thanks for watching my first YouTube video. Bye.